So my biomarker status, I have a BRAF V600E mutation. It's really changed my treatment plan, because when I was first diagnosed, it was essentially my tumour. There was one in my bowel that got removed, and then it went to my ovary. And because of that, I then started on folfoxiri. And the only reason I started on folfoxiri at that particular time was because of my biomarker status. So in the event that I didn't know that, I would probably not be here today. And I definitely wouldn't have had that same line of treatment. Where I'm at now is I am on two drugs called cetuximab and encorafenib, and they essentially are directly related to the biomarker status or the mutation that I've got. And I've been on those drugs for 8 months at this current point in time.
To be completely honest, it changed my entire treatment plan, actually, when I was first diagnosed, and I was diagnosed with stage 3C rectal cancer. And the initial plan was actually to do radiation for about 5 days, and then I was going to do chemotherapy afterwards. I don't know the exact type. It was over a year ago now, and my treatment plan changed, so that's not really the detail I focus on too much. And then I was supposed to do surgery. But actually, the day I was supposed to start my radiation therapy, I got a call from my oncologist saying, your biomarker results have come back, and your cancer is known as something called MSI high, or microsatellite instability high. And it affected specifically the PMS2 gene. And she proceeded to tell me that because of that, I was eligible for a certain time of immunotherapy called pembrolizumab. So going from possibly doing radiation and chemo, and actually supposed to be starting that the day of, to hearing about this new kind of treatment, obviously it was a big shock. And then I had to ask, what is immunotherapy? Because it's not a very well-known form of treatment. But thankfully that actually happened for me, and worked out very well. I ended up doing about 6 rounds of this form of immunotherapy, pembrolizumab, and then it shrunk my tumor by so much that I was able to go in for a surgery to remove the rest of my cancer.
It's really important to me that I know exactly what is applicable, available at any given time, looking at what's in America, what's in, the UK, understanding where things are at from a cost perspective, and understanding sort of, where exactly I'm at. I have a spreadsheet of all my bloods for the last 2.5 years to make sure I intimately know, what's going on inside of me.
Once I found out that we were kind of switching, or there was the possibility to switch treatment plans, and I kind of jumped at the opportunity. So that was March 1st, 2021 that I was diagnosed, and initially was supposed to do chemotherapy, radiation, and surgery. But then it was actually April 1st that I began my immunotherapy treatment. So it was still very quick. And then every 3 weeks, I would go in, sit down at the hospital for about an hour and have the infusion of pembrolizumab. And I did that about 6 times. And then a couple of months later, the tumor on my most recent scans had shown that it had shrunk so much that surgery was possible. And as well as with my diagnosis, I also had genetic testing done, and I found that I had Lynch syndrome. So my surgery actually became less about removing what was left of the cancer. And I'd also like to mention that they're actually at the time of surgery, there was nothing left of my cancer. The immunotherapy had a complete response and removed all sign of disease. So my surgery ended up being a preventative surgery. Due to my Lynch syndrome, they wanted to reduce the risk of a reoccurrence. So I did the surgery, and that was at the end of July 2021. And then I had a second surgery in November, because at that point I had a temporary ileostomy, and they reversed that in November 2021. And since then, I've been kind of just healing and getting back with normal life.
I found out of my mutation status. So after my emergency surgery to remove the tumour in my bowel that was blocking my bowel, the hospital that I was in just did it routinely. So, which was really good, because then another hospital who I had a surgery with didn't do it routinely. So that was really good, and able to then, I had no idea really what it meant at that particular point in time. And then you start Googling it and it's all really bad and doom and gloom. But since that time, yeah, it's absolutely informed what we do and how we do it. So they took my tumour, I think, and somehow tested that and somehow figured out that it was BRAF V600E, which is, a terrible biomarker to have, but, better the devil you know.
I didn't have to pay for it, and I actually didn't know it happened. So I thankfully had such a great oncologist and surgeon, actually. They worked together to kind of come up with this plan for me, because I was diagnosed at such a young age that they wanted me to have a form of treatment that would, I guess, reduce the amount of side effects and improve my quality of life. They were worried about fertility issues with radiation and chemo, especially due to the location of my tumor. So, yeah, I had no idea they did it, but thankfully they did.
So I didn't need to pay for my testing because it was just routine in the public hospital that I was admitted to at the time. But what we then did, though, post that, when we found out that it had spread then to my ovary and what the next treatment option was, I actually did a trial through the Garvan Institute, and they were also able to test the tumour at that particular point in time. So I didn't have to pay for any of it, but I was lucky enough that almost by fluke, had I gone to another hospital, it wouldn't have been standard. Had I not had my oncologist who was up to date with all of the trials, I wouldn't have had the information. So, even to this day, I talk to people with bowel cancer, and a lot of them don't even know what a biomarker is. And I think it's so important for people to understand. And my oncologist says, Gemma, we were able to cure cancer before we knew about biomarkers. So don't worry too much about them. That's sort of their job. But, for me, it's very important that we understand as much as we can about it.